We just saw the Invisible Man.
Yes.
Yes.
The Invisible Man from, I can't remember the year, but from a very long time ago.
1933.
Was it 33?
Yes.
So that's after Dracula.
Just before the war.
Just before the war, and
The war we doesn't mention. And it just made me think of the Hollow Man, actually, as one of the first
from
first
2000.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it is like the same concept, but made scary, whereas the Invisible Man, sorry, is more like a comedy.
It is a dark comedy. So what is the movie about? This was the first time you saw it, I think.
Yes.
Yes. So what if you could summarize the plot? What is it about?
It's about this guy who, for some reason, is invisible, and you're not introduced to why he's invisible at first, but the story progresses along with just giving you small hints and clues from his colleagues who are looking for him. Turns out that he has taken this drug to make him invisible, and this drug makes you crazy as well.
It's a drug that's made from a flower that's grown in India. It draws color from everything it touches. It was tried out on some poor animal, a dog, I believe. It was injected under the skin, and it turned the dog dead white, like a marble statue.
Isn't that so?
Yes, and it also sent it raving mad.
You surely don't think...
I only pray to God that Griffin hasn't been meddling with this ghastly stuff.
He has...
And strong.
And strong also, but this is something you have to guess your way to, because it's not that obvious.
It's essentially magical steroids.
Yes.
Magical steroids.
Called monocaine.
Monocaine, yeah.
Which is also the fictitious name of a drug used in a lot of other TV shows and movies.
Yeah, you researched that, I remember. In Matlock, it's used in Matlock.
Yeah.
Why Matlock? It has nothing to do with the Invisible Man.
He always needs a new way of something.
Yeah, that's true. Yes. But yes, the Invisible Man, it's one of the classic Universal horror monsters.
And it was very, very, Universal signature, kind of like a big movie.
Very, very nice sets.
Yeah, nice sets, but a lot of instrumental music that made the scenes
horns
seem more grand than they were. But at times I actually thought that the music made the scenes confusing, because then there was music that would be up tempo, more like fun, but the feelings of the actors were more sad. Or
there was a tonal inconsistency, because there was scenes, as you say, where the people in the scene were very sad, but then the movie was like soaring through the end. It was very this is a happy moment.
I wanted to come back to you, my darling. I failed. I meddled in things that man must leave alone.
But yeah,
confusing.
It's very different from the other Universal horror movies like Dracula, The Mummy, Frankenstein, The Monster from the Black Lagoon, in that those are meant to be frightening for that time and period. But
although a scene at the end where they burn the barn that he's in actually gets a feel of Frankenstein. I don't know why.
Fire is bad. I mean, at the end of Frankenstein, the mill Frankenstein's monster is in, it burns. So and there's a mob of people that burn it down. So it has the same ending.
Yeah, it drew on a lot of other old movies, I think.
Yeah,
they tried to keep some of the horror essentials that they had from that time.
Yeah, and to be honest, I mean, it isn't. It isn't consistently funny, because if you think about what happens in the movie, obviously it has a humorous tone, but he does kill 128 people or something.
Yeah.
And there's this very specific and very impressive scene in the movie where he makes it so that a train goes off the tracks and smashes down.
Actually very hard to see if it was a model train or an actual train they drove off the cliff.
It must have been a model. I mean, it's a budget thing.
You couldn't tell.
Well, I mean, if you have to smash a train, I mean, that's more money than any studio has, I think. But I don't know. But I think that's obviously the main thing to talk about in this movie from a film perspective is beyond the sets and the acting. It's the special effects.
Yeah, they were very good.
On the Invisible Man, Jack Griffiths.
I compared it at one time to, Sabrina the Teenage Witch from the 1990s.
Yeah.
1990s.
1990s, yeah.
And they were worse at the effects than this movie is from 1933.
Yeah, this actually held up better.
I'll show you who I am and what I am. Look, he's all eaten away. Huh? How do you like that, eh?
Yeah.
And that's the difference between being outdated and classic, because outdated is a bad thing in that when you see something old and it doesn't hold up, that's what I call outdated. But this, where it's old and holds up, that's a classic effect.
Yeah,
I
it
feel.
was really impressive.
Yeah, and I mean, I didn't think the characters were that bad, like the actors.
No, actually, I don't know if they were doing it on purpose, but some of the actors seemed to act really untypical, not so
hokey.
Hokey.
Yeah.
Not so serious, and that made the movie funny.
Yeah, it actually gave something to the movie.
Yes, it did, and I'm not sure if they did it on purpose, but
I hope so.
it made it very funny.
I mean that woman in the start that keeps
The one
screaming. She's actually in a lot of the Universal horror movies, and she's kind of the scream queen of that era.
The wrench.
Yeah, well, but it's funny because throughout horror movie history, you have a lot of scream queens. You have in Alfred Hitchcock's.
But they're always beautiful, and
well, she wasn't beautiful this
no,
one, but as I said, Psycho had Janet Leigh, and then her daughter. Jamie Lee Curtis. But before all of those, we had this one. I think she's called Una something. But she's actually very famous for the Universal horror movies.
Because of the way she screams.
No, she's just iconic, I guess.
Bandages right up to the top of his head, all round his ears.
Any blood?
No blood. Looks like some kind of horrible accident.
Yes, but a trope with the Universal horror movies is that they reuse a lot of the same actors.
Yeah.
Bela Lugosi, who plays Dracula, has played Frankenstein's monster, and he's played Igor, and he's played a lot of different characters.
Yeah.
And Boris Karloff, who started out as Frankenstein's monster, has played a mad scientist and a lot of other roles in the same universe,
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're good actors, but they are very set in the time in which the movies were made. I mean, the acting qualities they had back then wouldn't necessarily hold up today.
No.
But, I mean, that's kind of common, that the craft advances and becomes better, I guess.
Yeah, the way actors express emotions in horrors today are way better. You get more invested in the people. Also, today's horror movies make more out of the storylines that are surrounding the supernatural or whatever horrific thing is the center of the story. In this movie, there actually is a love story, but it's very underplayed.
It's kind of a side note.
Yes, and you never really understand why the woman Flora, she's called in this movie, why she loves this invisible man, and she never expresses any horror or disgust with his actions,
she just loves him.
She just loves him, and I was at several times just frustrated because why?
Are you trying to say that you would have dumped him?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
If my boyfriend killed 128 people,
turned invisible and killed 128
Yes.
people, then you may have some questions.
yes, I would maybe have some questions.
I can't argue with that.
But then again, he is very graceful to her. You know, kisses her on the hand.
Yeah.
And, yeah, true gentleman.
Why did you do this?
For you, Flora.
For me?
Yes, for you, my darling. I wanted to do something tremendous. To achieve what men of science have dreamt of since the world began. To gain wealth and fame and honor. To write my name above the greatest scientists of all time. I was so pitifully poor. I had nothing to offer you, Flora. I was just a poor, struggling chemist.
And can we talk about his voice?
I love his voice.
With his
It's so, oh, Flora.
and his reign of terror.
You're my partner, Kemp. We'll begin with a reign of terror. A few murders here and there.
Yeah, and the gesture that he makes when he talks about his grand design is
Yeah,
so
he's very
iconic.
expressive.
Yeah,
Very
he's like,
expressive in movements. Even the moon is afraid of me.
Power to make multitudes run, squealing in terror at the touch of my little invisible finger. Even the moon's frightened of me, frightened to death. The whole world's frightened to death.
Yeah.
At one point, he made like a talk that he was gonna dominate the world, and you know, like a super villain or
yes,
something.
like
and
a
you were-
James Bond villain.
yeah, and you were just thinking, where's the white cat he can stroke? But instead, he was
Yeah.
in this rocking chair, just.
He was sitting in and that's such a funny.
That made it so-
That's probably the best scene in the movie.
Yeah.
And it's like he tries to recruit his old friend Dr. Kemp or something to rule the world with him, and he's so nonchalant about it. It's like he just meets him like, oh yeah, by the way, we're gonna try to take over the world. It's like, well, what are we gonna do tonight, Brain? The same thing we do every night,
exactly.
Pinky. Try to take over the world. Yeah. So it's
Similar.
definitely not a serious movie.
No.
I think it's intentional.
But when you go into it with the mind that it's not a horror and it's not serious about itself, then it's really funny.
that's enjoyable enough in itself.
Yeah.
And
And when you think about that the effects are so good, I think you can still watch it today without being annoyed at all.
yeah, I mean it's not that long of a movie either. It's
No,
an hour
very
and
short.
10 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, you can throw that out there in an afternoon and just watch it.
Yes.
And I would also like to point out that there's also intentionally funny moments in the movie where it's clear that they were being serious, but it comes off so poorly made that it's actually funny.
Yeah.
And I think you know what I'm talking about. It's that one police officer who should be given an Emmy for that Oscar-winning
Yeah, it
performance.
was the best acting I've ever
Yeah,
He's got to sleep. They might catch him asleep.
that shit has to be seen to be believed.
Yes.
But The Invisible Man,
Yes.
you enjoyed it.
I did. I like nostalgia, and I really like seeing old movies just, you know, to laugh at either how poorly the effects were or just to see another time, because they really reflect how people were in the times,
Yeah,
you
the
know, what
mentality.
was important for them.
That pre-war feeling.
Yeah,
Yeah. So you would recommend this to?
I would if you like that type of films, you know.
Yeah, if you have the patience for older movies because
Yeah.
they're slower paced.
They are, yeah.